Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John's reports for the 22nd. Well, the ES, or the S&P 500, got close to the 50% mark before bouncing right back up to the ABM Magenta that's right here. And this is part of what we saw from that declining shakeout, and it's continued, even though we've been in rising gold above 50%, which is typically generally bullish. What we were looking for is any kind of turnaround. Now, it hasn't happened yet, and we're starting to see the separation between the green and magenta readings right here. If I can get it to show up on the high side. Nope, only comes down on the lower end. You can see it's 4 and 250. When the spread gets over 10 from a positive negative ratio is when you tend to start seeing strong movement in the direction that's indicated. Well, in this case, the directional is going lower. So still trying to base within this and holding on to the support levels. You can see the NASDAQ had already reached that 50% marker. And also an interesting one too is whenever you get green above zero like this and it's not matching with the red, that's why the yellow pops up, because it's a warning. So we could see some outstretched volatility within the current range. Now we still haven't dipped below the red line, so if that happens, then I would expect to see the 50% break for a further down leg. If it's able to hold on and we start to see a turnaround in the DOC readings, then you get the potential for something better. The euro, moving back just a little bit, if you get an almost positive extreme took place in the previous day and it's kind of filled back in, particularly as there's just this never-ending uncertainty. If there's going to be a stimulus, no stimulus. If there's a stimulus, then this was the rise up forward. If it seems like it's not happening, then you're going to just fill it all back in place. And from a gold standpoint, again, likewise, same situation. As long as the idea of a stimulus is happening, gold's going to march higher as a catalyst against that potential inflationary pressure. So talk about a really nice, clean day. You can't always predict when you're going to see it this clean, but it was pretty darn sweet. We ended up with early buy signals that started out the day, and then clean DOC spreads that actually started a little bit earlier. But again, we look for this that steel cross below where the orange then pops up. In this case, the magenta candle came in. That was a nice dip going from there, and then we kind of based across early signal off of no DOC steel reset, so that when the P2 came, much stronger configuration at that point. The shakeout was almost positive there, and that led to the return back to the highs, where we put in another beautiful DOC spread, slightly above magenta. Even if you had waited until it started to break down, you were still relatively at the same price levels, and you can see it really begins its breakdown when that orange crosses above that steel. And that led to the acceleration all the way back down to the 100%. And I was posting these all day long because it was some fun action. And then as we based across for a while, we ended up again with some soft buy action as it leveled out and then popped back up again, and then started right back with the exact same thing and just kept rinsing and repeating as this was going. This was a decent move here as we saw the DOC red continuing to rise. Green couldn't get above the cyan, which was a little bit unusual, but once you break that shakeout moving back towards positive, you've got a pretty good run. We had the dotted line with green popped in here. That's why I put the marker right after so that you could see it. And even still, when you know, some people say, oh, I missed the pop. Well, you get these returns that come back to it and still keep things, you know, relatively in place. At that particular point, we started to have rising gold that was taking place, and that put us right back to the same, well, this lower 100% because of the decline, but came back to it, DOC spread, and that one literally continued throughout. And you can see we didn't really get, you had the crossover here, but you really didn't see any steel reset, or at least an orange cross around it to where it you know, came up and back below, giving a cross-up signal for continuation buy, and that's what led to the new lows that took place in the aftermarket, and then we sort of just based along, put it in our by green dotted lines, relatively same spots, but solid rising. That gave us this rise that we're seeing right now. Still not particularly super strong. It's a red below zero in that, and so it's just kind of like flat line from a shakeout, declining ever so slowly as we're sitting here a couple hours away from market open. So it's going to be another, I think, pretty good range. I mean, when you're looking at these numbers, we're going from the 3,400 to 3,450s. That's pretty good stuff for intraday action, and led to some really nice, consistent gains on that. So, very exciting stuff. If we look at it even from a power mode 2 by crossover pattern, right click, you can see that's the DOC and power 2 cross. Pretty much the same construct developing through there, so it was also nice and clean action from that standpoint. As always, I will update any relevant charts and put them up along with current things that I'm trading on it. And what you've been seeing me post on the Skype chat, though, is just single contract, just showing the power of only having one shot at it, no averaging in or anything, and how it is to just follow that along. As always, trade well. We'll talk again later.